And the new concept that was put forward was ordinal analysis. Ordinal means that we actually do not measure utility in cardinal numbers. We just compare the utilities between two things, or at the most we can say that two things are giving us equal utility. So the concept that was put forward was ordinal analysis or indifference curve analysis. An indifference curve is a very important tool of this analysis. Now, let me tell you, what is an indifference curve? An indifference curve is a curve which shows different combinations of two goods that give equal satisfaction to the consumer. You all must be familiar with the word ISO. ISO means same, so it is also called ISO utility curve. Now, this curve is based on another technical concept of marginal rate of substitution. Now, let me tell you, what is marginal rate of substitution? Since our income and prices of the two goods have been kept to be constant, if we want one more unit of one good, we will have to forego few units of the other good. This is called marginal rate of substitution. So it is the amount of Y good consumer will give up to get one more unit of X and maintain the same level of satisfaction. Let me show it with the help of a table. Supposedly, you are consuming two goods, namely mango and apple. You have one mango and 10 apples, but now you want two mangoes. So you'll probably forego 3 apples. So this means the marginal rate of substitution would be 3:1. Now, if you still want more mangoes, we move on from second mango to third mango, and in case of apples, we'll be having to drop some apples. So we'll drop 2 apples. So this means now the rate of substitution is 2:1. Then, if you still want an additional mango, that is 4 mangoes, we'll be dropping only 1 apple. That is, the ratio would be 1:1. So the thing is that as we want more of Y commodity, we will be dropping lesser and lesser of X commodity. Because as we have more of Y, our attraction towards Y will diminish, and as we have less of X, our urge to leave it will go away, and we don't want to part more of it now. And because of this falling marginal rate of substitution, the indifference curve gets its convex shape. Now, if we take more than one indifference curve in one graph only, this becomes an indifference map. And every higher indifference curve gives more satisfaction than the lower indifference curve. So you all should be familiar with the concept of indifference curve and indifference map. But friends, both these concepts are only showing us the preferences which consumer has. The higher IC will give you higher satisfaction, lower IC will give you lower satisfaction, and on the same IC, all the points will give you equal satisfaction, maybe with different combinations. But another very important thing before we can achieve consumer equilibrium is to know about our budget. So, we all know that we cannot buy any and every combination of two goods that we might be wanting to consume. We can only buy those goods which are available to us considering our income and prices of the goods. So given the income fixed and the prices of the goods also constant, we can only buy the goods which are within our range or within our budget. And this forms our budget set. Then what is it that puts a constraint on our budget? Yes, the constraint on the budget is put by our money income. So prices of X good multiplied by the quantity of X plus prices of Y good multiplied by the quantities of Y should be equal or less than our money income. We cannot buy more than our income. So this poses a budget constraint on all of us. I'm sure nobody of us likes it. We all want to have more and more of everything. Now let's move on to the concept of budget line. Budget line is a line which shows different combination of two goods which a consumer can buy with his budget and given prices of the goods. On one axis, we take good X. On the second axis, we take good Y. Now, these are not showing our preferences. These are only showing our options, that what we can buy. To achieve consumer equilibrium, what we need to do is we need to merge the concepts of budget line and our preference curve, that is indifference curve. But that we'll do a little later. Before that, I would like to explain you how my budget line can shift. Well, it's very easy. See, if my income increases, I can buy more things. Both good X and good Y can be taken in more number of quantities. So that means my budget line will shift rightward. And if my income decreases, that's a very sorry state of affairs, friends. So my income will decrease and both the quantities will be bought in lesser quantities and my budget line will shift leftward. Now, that is not the only way that budget line shifts. Budget line also shifts with the price of the commodity, income being constant. See, as you can see in the diagram, if the price of X good falls, I can buy more of X good, but the quantity of Y will remain same. So it will be only one side of the line that will be shifting towards rightward and not the whole of the budget line. Similarly, if good X price rises, then the budget line will shift towards leftward, but only for good X and not for good Y. In the same way, we can derive the changing budget line for good Y, and that has been shown very clearly in the diagram. And now, coming on to where we left the things, consumer equilibrium and merging the two things, that is indifference curve and budget line. We will, in a way, superimpose our preference curves, our indifference map on the budget line. There will be certain indifference curves or preference curves which will lie within the budget line. So that means my budget can offer me more than that. So I will not take those options. There will be certain preference curves or indifference curves which will lie above my budget line. That I can't afford. So I would not like to take them also. But there will be one curve and one combination which will be tangent to my budget line. And that is where my equilibrium would be according to the indifference curve analysis. This is the point where budget line will be tangent to the indifference curve, and at that point, indifference curve should be convex to the point of origin. So this means, why should it be convex to the point of origin? Because I already told you that marginal rate of substitution, X for Y, falls, and that gives indifference curve its convex shape. And this will provide stability to my equilibrium. Technically or mathematically, we can say that at this point, slope of IC is equal to slope of budget line, or marginal rate of substitution X for Y, that is the slope of IC, is equal to slope of budget line, that is price of X upon price of Y. Now, my dear friends, I'm sure you must be very, very clear with the concept of consumer equilibrium and how we can conclude consumer equilibrium position by utility analysis and indifference curve analysis. So, moving on to the next important topic, that is demand. Demand, which is a very close thing to all of us because we all demand so many things. What is demand? If I want a thing, it can't be called as demand. That's simply my desire. So, how we can convert the desire into demand? Desire will be converted into demand only if we have the purchasing power and I'm willing to buy the thing at the existing price. So this means demand refers to the various quantities of a commodity that consumer is willing to buy at different prices. But there is one thing which is very clear, that as price increases, my demand will go down. So this means that the demand curve will be downward sloping, or it will have a negative slope. What all things does my demand depend upon? These will be called as determinants of demand. जब भी आप और हम कोई भी चीज़ खरीदते हैं तो हम उस चीज़ को परचेज करने से पहले किन सारे फैक्टर्स के बारे में सोचते हैं? They become our determinants of demand. First determinant of demand is the price of that commodity. If the price of the commodity increases or it is more, we will obviously buy less of that commodity because we all are looking for minimum prices and maximum utility. Then, vice versa is also true. If the prices of the commodities are less, we will be buying more of them. You all know that at the sale time, we all rush to the stores to buy more and more. Second determinant of demand is price of related goods. Related goods can be categorized into two sections or two categories. One is complementary goods and the other is substitute goods. Can you give me an example of substitute goods? Tea and coffee. Yes, that's correct. And complementary goods? Car and petrol, pen and ink, camera and the memory card. So, if you think that the price of the memory card is too high, what will you do by buying a camera? Because every time you need to use it, you need to buy a memory card. So in this way, price of the related goods affect the consumption of the complementary good. Similarly, in case of substitute goods, if tea becomes too expensive, we will obviously switch on to coffee. So while the demand patterns of substitute goods show a competition, those of complementary goods are positively related.